Chase, are you at Chase Iraggi?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that how you say your last name?
Iraggi.
Iraggi?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have said, I've always said Iraggi.
Yeah.
Iraggi. What is that?
Italian.
Really?
Mm.
Ew.
That's not actually how you say it. It's like some...
Iraggi.
Like literally. Yeah. It's Iraggi. Yeah.
Iraggi.
Yeah.
That's so much cooler.
Yeah, I sound like a Mario brother.
Yeah.
I don't say it like that.
It is funny how that like stuff like that changes. Like my grandpa on my mom's side, like so her maiden name is Clausen, right? But it's actually like Van Clusen is what it's supposed to be, and it's Dutch, and it's like they wanted to apparently sound a little less accessy powers whenever they moved, like going through Ellis Island. So they're like, "What's the last name?" They're like Clausen.
Have you like found papers from Ellis Island? Yeah, we went there when we were in New York and found my grandparents like 1912, 1913. Yeah, when they came in.
That's crazy.
I bet that was really cool.
It was. And then like New York got really like overpopulated. My parents moved here, or my dad moved here when he was 16 because they literally just packed all their stuff in their car and were like, we're going to go somewhere else.
Whoa. Not much of a plan.
They were like Oklahoma. This is where we
Perfect.
literally. Yeah. No plan. Just left.
Wow. That's cool.
We did almost the same. We had a little bit of a plan when we moved to Oklahoma. Yeah. We were like, that sounds like a cool place for a supplement store. Let's go check out some retail there. It was like literally our first trip ever here. So
yeah. So with Oklahoma, like the cost of living so low and there are lots of cool things to do, but people, if you're not from here, like if you're from a big city, I think people think we still like ride horses and so
my sister.
There are literally horses back behind us.
I didn't say the shoe didn't fit, but there are other things that happen here.
My sister went to school in Boston and then lived just outside of Manhattan for a couple of years. So was on the East Coast, like big city for like a while. And she would tell people that she grew up in Missouri and like in the Midwest, and are like, oh, like, does your family like have a farm? And she's like, well, yeah, but like that's not the norm. So.
Right. Like, I know this is going to sound bad, but no, yes, we have a farm, but no, it's not like that. Yeah, it is funny though. Like, I know I've always said this. It's funny because places like Oklahoma, Missouri do get like a bad rap of like being like flyover states. But if you go to like actual major cities, not to be rude, but I have never met dumber humans than when I was like in Philadelphia. Was the worst. Like, holy moly.
Is that coming from an Eagles fan?
Yes. Yeah. No, this is a diehard Eagles fan. Philadelphia, like, I'm sure there's plenty of great people.
There goes our viewership in Philadelphia.
I know. Dang it. Sorry, fellow Birds fans. But like, literally, we had a guy at a hotel that we were staying at try to convince us that he should charge me and my wife more money for our hotel because we booked a king bed and he was giving us 2 queen beds, and 2 beds should cost more than 1 bed. And we're like, nope. It shouldn't.
You're giving us not what we asked for.
Right. And it's like, no. Like that's, and he's like, no, yeah. Like,
no,
2 beds, more money, 1 bed.
That sounds very like Northeast. Like,
yeah,
I'm just going to get more money out of you in some way.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh yeah, you talk to him, honey. And she's like,
same. I'm always like, Jasmine, they got my food order wrong.
Like, Jasmine, they forgot my ranch.
One time they messed up my burger somewhere and she like sent it back 3 times. And I was like, it's really like, it's fine. And she was like, no, that's not how you ordered it. And I was like,
flinching as every time she talks. She's like, just kidding.
But it's funny because I'm all the martial arts and stuff that I do, like I'm not confrontational at all.
Right.
Because I guess when you train with a bunch of people, you live in reality. And you're like, this person might be able to hurt me. Mm-hmm. And then you'll go out with people that will like try to put you in situations where you like literally I went out with some of my friends who are white belts. In any place we go, any bar, they're like, He's a black belt. I walked by. Do you know who Mo is? He trains at Redline.
Yeah.
I saw him downtown and I was like, hey, Mo, how are you? And he was like, oh, he's a black belt. And I'm like, I cannot get away from this behavior.
Right. It is funny though, because I think that is such like a true thing. Last night, when the Thunder won the NBA championship, living downtown, I looked at my wife and I'm like, I'm going outside. I want to go experience this. And she's like, I want to go to bed. And I'm like, okay, that's fair. So I ran over to the stadium and there were some real drunk people. And I'm walking and this guy's like, there's some Pacers fans. Like, we should kick their ass. And I'm like, just kind of walking in the same vicinity as this group. And one guy looks at me and goes, you got my back, right? And I'm like, no, absolutely not.
I've never met you.
Yeah. I don't know you. And I don't get in fights. So I'm good.
No. Dude, we went to Michael Murphy's on Saturday and there were a bunch of Pacers fans there. And I was like everybody is it's weird because Oklahoma, I'm like, are we South? Are we Midwest?
Right.
What are we? We're like that weird thing, but everybody was really polite to them, even though they were trying to be super provocative. I'm like, there is literally 6 of you and there's a bar full of people that are Thunder fans.
And we're like, here's a beer. Like,
literally, that's what we were like, calm down.
Yeah.
You said the Pacers fans were being
yeah.
That's ballsy.
It was. So like at Michael Murphy's, you can pay to like have whatever written on the chalkboard. And I can't even remember the things that they were having written, but I was like, that's really bold things for you to be putting on there. So.
Well, to kick off the episode, as we've already been sitting here chattering, we have Chase Iraggi, as it should be pronounced. Jiu Jitsu. He's a black belt. I don't know if you guys have heard. Is owner of Yukon Martial Arts, just a couple doors down from us. Black belt in Jiu Jitsu.
Second
degree black belt. You're under Jean-Jacques, right?
Yes.
And then you are also you're back to teaching now, right? And also a PE teacher, correct?
Yes.
Nice.
At Class and SAS Middle School.
Wow.
It's my first year teaching middle school. Well, I taught 1 semester, and that's just a world of difference because I spent 9 years teaching elementary, and then I was just running the gym. And a principal who I really liked called me, and she was like, hey, we like desperately need somebody because the person before me got fired for,
Oh yeah,
drinking at work.
That's fun. You're around middle schoolers enough.
Oh yeah. No,
you're not allowed to do that?
The worst part is they all like make jokes about it now. Like I can't drink out of a Solo cup at work because they'll be like, but it's a different experience because like
they're bigger than you.
Yes. Yes. But like elementary, everything's fun.
Yeah.
In middle school, they're like, oh, I'm like, you chose to take this class.
Yeah.
Like you could have done whatever, but it's
too cool for anything.
Yeah. But it's an application school. So the kids are generally well behaved.
Nice.
Or rich. And,
Same thing. It is really interesting because my wife and I say my wife and I technically am a coach, but my wife is the coach. Mm-hmm. She coaches a highly competitive travel volleyball team, and it's a 15-year-old girls team. And if you don't know anything about volleyball, like just under, like we coach for Charge, and just under the Charge banner, just 15-year-old girls. I think there's like 16 or 18 teams just in Oklahoma City, just for 15-year-old girls, just for Charge. And there's like 12 other organizations you can play for. But coaches a highly competitive, coaches the overall like twos team for them. But point being is being around a bunch of 15-year-old girls for like an entire season, it is a super interesting thing. And it's not even middle school, which I'm sure is just as bad, if not worse. But it is really funny of like, and I remember being 15 and I was probably the same way where I was like just caught between like childhood and adulthood. And you're just like, am I a kid today or am I like trying to be a grown man today? And like that could flip flop depending upon the moment.
Were you like this size at 15?
No, not at all. Actually, I graduated high school at 168 pounds. At 6'4".
That's like 4 pounds more than I weigh right now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for real. I was a twig. Yeah, I was I was very skinny.
Ironically, I coached middle school volleyball for 2 years and high school volleyball at SAS before I taught there. And that was a different experience because I always tell people, like, even with jiu-jitsu or anything, coaching girls is way easier, but coaching high school girls, like, skill-wise, play-wise is different, but in practice, their personality clashes is way different. Yeah. I also have to, like, get a chair to stand on to talk to most of them.
Yeah, right.
Like, if I really wanted to be authoritative and, like, wanted to raise my voice, I'd have to, like, get a chair or a stool. But no, volleyball is, like, by far my favorite athletic sport to coach just because of the type of play.
It's so fun. Mm-hmm. Oh my wife has tried to convince me to, like, we've been together for a long time. She's coached the whole time we've been together. And she's like, I've always gone to games and then started going, like, more and more practice. And then, like, each year I've gotten, like, more and more involved. And this last year was, like, officially on the coaching staff. And it is a blast, dude. It is one of the absolute most fun things to just coach, be a part of. But I could sit and watch volleyball, like, happily. Like, when I'm at a tournament, I'm like, this is sick. Like, high level, like, high school volleyball is nuts, dude.
It is the one game that I could probably be involved. Like, if someone was like, hey, we're going to go play some volleyball, like, 100% of the time, I'm like, I'm down.
Yeah, for sure.
But coaching, so Class in SAS in Oklahoma City is an application school, but they moved the high school from where it was on Class, and that's now the middle school, and the high school is off Northeast. And so what they did is they merged Northeast High School and Class in SAS High School, which is very different, like, group dynamics. So Northeast is like a I don't know how to describe it, but, like, some of those kids, like, would walk themselves to school or take care of themselves versus kids who, like, parents do everything for them. And I coach kids from both dynamics.
Right.
And, like, some of those girls that were very city would be, like, willing to fight anyone at any game for any reason. And I'm like, it was a unique experience because that's when I was there, is when they blended both of those schools.
Yeah, that reminds me. I always talk about when I bring up my high school experience, growing up in Springfield, Missouri, I went to Glendale. Private school's not a big thing in Springfield, at least. In, like, other parts of Missouri, it definitely is, especially, like, St. Louis, Kansas City areas.
Catholic school in St. Louis, for sure.
Yeah, but, like, Springfield, it's really not. Like, there's, like, 3 or 4, like, private schools, but it's not like even here, I feel like a lot of people go to private school. Like, it's a super common thing to send your kid to private school, and it just, like, wasn't there. So it's funny because where Glendale is, if you go to if you go out and you go west, you're in one of the more, like, $1 million houses, very, very nice. Like, and all of those kids, like, go to Glendale. Like, really nobody censored, like, very rare. I feel like I knew kids that went to private school. So, and then if you go east, but, like, further east, it's, like, again, millions of dollars of, like, houses, like, crazy. But Glendale itself, the entire road that Glendale is on is all low income apartments. And so you had the most interesting dynamic that I always would say was it was the rich kids who had money and the poor kids who had access to drugs. And it was like, it was not a great blend all the time. And it's like very interesting how, like, you literally could have one kid that you were talking to that was like, he lived in a 2-bedroom apartment with, like, his 5 brothers and sisters and his parents. And the next kid was getting, like, $2,000 a month allowance and driving, like, a brand new Escalade or something. Like, it's crazy. It's such a weird dynamic, though.
Yeah, that's very much how it was. But I'd have so many, like, parents wanted, like, with coaching volleyball, really with any sport, but especially volleyball, because it is one of those sports that I don't want to say you have to have money to be really good, but it is one of those things that you'll throw a bunch of money in, like baseball, tennis, you're going to be dumping money into it.
Yep.
And I'd have so many girls that didn't grow up playing volleyball, but were extremely athletic. But if they had been playing like these other girls since they were 9, they would have been just as good.
Yeah. It is crazy. Like, you're looking just nowadays, I feel like in sports in general, compared to, even when I was a kid, like how many people, not even just talking about teams I've coached, but just like people I've talked to. And I think we're seeing it a ton in jiu-jitsu as well anymore. But it's like some of these kids that I talk to, whether it's volleyball or jiu-jitsu, it's like, oh yeah, like I meet with like this top level strength and conditioning coach 3 times a week. I go to like preventative physical therapy every week. I go like, I have private lessons on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I go to camps Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I'm like, each one of those things you just said individually costs like 150 to like 250 bucks a pop. And you're doing 5 to 6 of them every week, year round.
Jeez.
What's funny that parents will spend that kind of money on jujitsu, and like, I love it. You want your kid to be great. That's awesome. But I'm like, what kind of money do you think is in jujitsu? Because like you're dumping all of this into them and they're going to be extremely talented, but they're just not, you're not Gordon Ryan.
Right.
Like you're not going to make, like he's the only grappler I can think of that has made a significant amount of money.
Right.
So
it is crazy because now I feel like you're seeing a lot, especially in grappling. I feel like I know more and more kids who either are fully online for high school or they're homeschooled and they just train. That is all they do all day.
I've had to tell a few of my kids that compete that are still in public school. I'm like, this person you're training with they train like 3 times a day.
Right.
Like they're literally like, you're as much as I want you to, you're never going to catch them.
Right.
Like, and that's the hard part, but it's the truth.
Yeah. It's
and
like
good for parents that put that much effort into their kids, but
to an extent though, as long as they're still doing school.
What's the point there? I mean, are they like trying to like have their kid be able to make money off of martial arts in the future, or like what's the?
I mean,
great question.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, there are like, they'll pay you to grapple, but are you going to make a living? Like, well, I guess what do you consider a living? Like they're going to wind up getting paid, but
there's kids. I mean, there's people who are, I think we're seeing potentially the cusp of like money making jujitsu really start. And I think it's one of those things when it's like, when your kid has the potential to be like one of the best in the world at something that they're doing, I feel like it's hard to not like lean into that. Yeah. But at the same time, it's also like, there is a like, I feel like I hope they don't get burnt out, and I hope jiu-jitsu works out for them long term. Yeah, and there's opportunities, I'm sure, but it's also like, man, I don't know if I would like as long as they're still doing school and like doing those kind of things, I think it's okay. But I do question how some of it works.
That's always my concern is the burnout. I'm like, also jiu-jitsu like takes a real physical toll. And like, I see parents bring their kids 5-6 times a week. And I'm like, sometimes like if I stood up off this couch too fast, I'd be like, like folded over. And I'm like, they're going to have such a toll at some point, and the burnout is real. For sure.
Like, I mean, I was talking to some people the other day, and it's like, it's not that uncommon anymore, but it's like these kids, high school level, like high school age kids that are either homeschooled or they're doing all online. And like talking to them, and it's like, how many rounds a week are you getting right now? Like how many live rounds a week are you getting right now? And they're like, 150, 200. And I'm like, jeez, like that is like,
I feel bad. Like if we're talking about competition for adults, like in that adult bracket, like that 18 to 29, like let's say you've been training for 2 years and you get your blue belt and you're like, oh, I just got my blue belt, I'm going to compete. But you go against an 18-year-old kid that's a blue belt, but has been training since they were like 5.
So to kind of explain this a little bit more, to make it more sense for you and the audience, is you can't technically get a blue belt until you're 15, 16.
Yeah, generally.
So what happens is you train, and I don't even know all the kids' belts in order. You'd have to say them if you know them.
It's white. So it just goes white, gray, yellow, orange, green. But in each of those, there's like white, gray, solid gray, gray, black. And it does the same thing through all of those colors.
All the way to green belt. But you have to think like, it is next to impossible to even achieve getting a green belt because you have to do it before you're 16. But the thing is like, so the point is like an 18-year-old blue belt might have gotten their blue belt, which is the same as like a lot of people get their blue belt in a year and a half, 2 years kind of thing. Like I was 2 years as a white belt before I got my blue belt. I am technically the same rank as a kid who got his green belt and then turned 16, which means he's been training since he was 7.
Right.
And I've been training for, 16 months.
So there are kids that get their green belt though?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of green belts, do you see adults that get green belts?
Yeah. There are places
I'm
that do
sorry, adults
adult
that get green
belts.
belts. You're still just a white belt.
Yeah.
People are going to hate me for that, but it's the truth. It's just because generally in jiu-jitsu for each belt, there's 4 stripes. And it's like an American thing where you like need some sort of reward. And so like some schools give out a green belt generally about a year, but you would still be competing in white belt.
Right.
So I don't.
Kind of a participation.
Literally, that's
trophy.
exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. But yeah, so essentially the point is like to get a green belt
I've never given one out.
for all intents and purposes, you are a child black belt. Like every green belt I know is like everybody who was a green belt who is now like aged out of that and into it are murderers.
Yeah.
Like absolute murderers. And that's the thing is then they can like Jet, a Defiant ambassador for us. He skipped blue belt completely. So he went straight from green to purple because it was like he had been dominating blue belt competitions as a green belt for years. What are you going to make him do it all over again? Like it just, it does kind of become a flawed system that I think nobody really thought was going to happen.
Well, and I'd always rather see like people move up and compete up than compete down. Like I'm a huge advocate for that. And you see it at tournaments. People will keep their kids in white belt they'll win an obscene amount of medals instead of just moving them. I'm like, how many times do you need to win in this division before you move up and really
Probably
push
get
yourself?
better if you.
Yeah.
For sure.
Mm.
Sandbagging. You kind of, I guess, obviously we just went on a whole bunch of stuff there, but I'm kind of curious, what got you into jiu-jitsu? I know your dad just jiu-jitsu. Did he get you into it? Or did you get him into it?
I got him into it. So I grew up doing karate. I actually have a black belt in karate too, but I think I started watching UFC when I was like 16.
Would you like some whiskey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was 16, and I think the first one I watched was actually Hoist Gracie versus Matt Hughes.
Yeah.
And then I was like,
how old are you?
16.
No, how old are you now?
Oh, I'm not 16. I'm 30.
Like, wow.
I'll be 30.
You look terrible.
I'll be 35 in August.
Yeah.
So it's weird because I've been doing jiu-jitsu like over half my life now. But anyway, I started jiu-jitsu when I was 16 at Apex in Tuttle, which is still open.
Yeah.
Shout out Scott Landis. He was my first coach. But I started there, and then probably when I was about 20, we opened our own school.
Yeah.
So
That's cool. So you started when you were 16, you said?
mhm.
We'll do a little cheers. A little cheers. Shout out AJ for these custom triad whiskey glasses that have
With our names on
got
them.
our names on them, and
That's super
you don't
cool.
have one.
Yeah, I was like,
There's not one that says cheers. But seriously, shout out AJ. These are dope. Oh yeah, that's a yummy.
don't let me drink too much because I'll start talking about my feelings.
Refill?
We had a good friend of mine. She's a good friend of mine, but she's just like one of my best friend's wives. Wife, I should say. He doesn't have multiple, but they
Good save.
yeah. Got you, James. Don't worry, buddy. Secret safe with us. But she came on, and she's wonderful. But she is a licensed counselor, and that was like the episode where like Kevin and I.
She just turned it into a counselor.
We were just like crying. It was a very powerful episode. It was great.
That's awesome.
It was.
That was a cool episode because I don't know if I ever told you this, but it's kind of a cool thing. I got a couple of messages from people saying like that they were how much they appreciated me sharing as much as I did about like me going to therapy and stuff like that and how beneficial it was, and just saying that like guys can sometimes struggle to be open about that kind of stuff, and that like me being willing to talk about it. And I was like, dang, that made me feel cool. That
That's
made me
super
feel
cool.
good. Yeah,
that's cool.
I definitely had like at least 2 self revelations in that episode. I was like, she's talking about like, you know, how the human mind works and how you react to certain things. And I'm like, wait, I think I do that. And this is my reaction. And like, holy crap, crap, I'm putting it all together.
Right. This is actually just a long con to get Kevin into therapy.
I'll take the hint.
Yeah. Yeah. So, if you want to cry a little bit, that's totally fine. Show your feelings.
Will.
Yeah. So you started when you were 16. When did your dad start?
I think I had been training for like 2 or 3 months, and then he was like, I got to do this.
Yeah.
So
that's super cool.
I mean, because, I watched the UFC and I was like, oh, so what I've been doing doesn't work. So like, I got to do something that does work.
Yeah.
And that was weird because I started jiu-jitsu when there was like, it makes me sound like I'm a million years old, but there was like 3 schools in the state,
right,
and like less than a handful of black belts. Like that's when a black belt, you were like a mystical thing.
Right. It is funny because I was telling this story the other day that I technically started my jiu-jitsu journey in high school. So I was probably around the same age. I think I was probably 15 or 16. And same thing, this is 2007, right? Like kind of time frame. And growing up in Springfield, Missouri, there was a place called Springfield Fight Club. And then there was the place that I went to.
Was that as cool as it sounds?
It's not around. I think they've changed. I don't know if it's just changed names, but I don't think Fight Club's still around. But yeah, it was a lot of tap out shirts, classic.
Oh, I miss that.
Yeah.
I miss those days.
Good times. But I went to, you'll think this is funny. And anybody who does jiu-jitsu will think this is funny. I went to a place called ASA, American Shoot Fighting Academy, which is a thing you don't hear about at all anymore, shoot fighting. So
most people would have no idea what that is.
Yeah, right.
You got to spell, what is it? CHUTE or like with the shoot box guys.
Right.
I'm imagining you bring your own gun.
Yeah. Shoot fighting. But we, all we did was, we just wrestled. And then we had I learned a triangle and an arm bar, and it was that was it. That was all we did. I did not learn any actual jiu-jitsu at all during that time.
So I'm just going to out myself because we were talking about tap out. I think I was 16 and I was training at Apex and I bought, I think, a tap out jacket.
Yeah.
And I wore it into my gym.
That was the one you were wearing in the store the other day when I saw you, right?
Dude. And the guy that was coaching me at the time, he was like, don't ever wear that again. And I was like, I learned my lesson.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, good friend though.
Yeah. No, it was good. It was good. I was 16. I needed guidance.
Yeah.
He was like, don't do it.
So what made the transition from karate to jiu-jitsu? What was that like? Just realizing you felt like karate wasn't.
Well, I had been doing it for 4.5 years, and it was a small school, and you know how even just in jiu-jitsu, you train with the same people over and over again. It gets boring. It's pretty monotonous. And I was just ready for something different. And I've been watching UFC. And ironically, right around the time, I think I'd been training jiu-jitsu for 2 months. My dad had a shop in the backyard with a wood burning stove in the middle that we would put mats around and just fight each other and literally have somebody stand by the wood burning stove so we didn't collapse into it.
Being extra safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's generally where it started.
Yeah. What is it? I know Bill, who is a coach of mine, and I know coaches a class over for you guys too. Where he started at, I forget what it was called, but it was the same kind of they had just a garage where they just literally put down mats and just beat the shit out of each other. That's all they did.
Yeah. It's weird because that's how a lot of the guys that taught jiu-jitsu or still teach jiu-jitsu, especially even my coach, Jean-Jacques, came here from Brazil and started teaching out of a garage.
Right.
And he still has pictures of it in all over his academy. That's how most people started, because 20 years ago, you'd be like jiu-jitsu and nobody would have any idea what you were talking about.
Right. Now it's how many, I was talking about this the other day. I think we're up to the Metro, right? I think we're at something 35 different gyms.
Bro, there's 4 on 92.
Yeah.
Jason is down there. There's this other one in the middle of us. And
Kingdom?
Yeah, Kingdom.
I haven't been over there.
No, we tried to go for open mat one time and they weren't open. And then
that's too bad. Yeah. No, for real. Because it's Black Flag, Kingdom, Yukon Martial Arts, and then Conquest.
Yeah.
And that's just this one road.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
When it's weird, with jiu-jitsu, it's different now. People would get so weird if you opened up a school in the same area. This is my area. It's a gang affiliation. It's a product. If there's nobody coming to your business. There's something wrong with the product you're offering. And every school is different. And I tell that to people that come in that do the free trial. I'm like, I may not be the guy for you.
Right.
Also, you may not be the student for me. Like I may not want you here because you may change the whole environment. And I think that's a big key thing that people who own schools get in their feels about. Like they see other schools opening. I'm like, it doesn't bother me.
Right.
All, so
well, that's kind of we feel like the same way when it comes to like other supplement stores is like, man, I'm just happy people are taking supplements. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm happy people are training jiu-jitsu. Like, I'm happy that people are learning this thing that I really enjoy. That's super cool. Like, and you know, we've always had the mindset, and like, I feel like I wish other places had the mindset of this too, but it's like, there's plenty of people. Like, there's no lack of people. We were talking about this the other day where it's like, if the Oklahoma City Metro, like, of how many people we've ever entered into our system, we're at like 1.7%.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people like we are enough to be, you know, like we've got 3 locations about to be a 4th location. And again, we have not even seen 2% of the total people that are here. Like that means that there is literally, there could be 100 more supplement stores and we would not even notice.
And what percent of people have a tub of protein powder in their pantry or a multivitamin sitting in their bathroom?
In Oklahoma City, it's probably like 65%.
Way more than one.
Yeah, exactly. So it is. Yeah. You know, it's tough. I get it. Like as a human being, I understand how like you can fall into those traps, but yeah, like I think that's such a good thing like that you say, because again, like as somebody who has trained plenty at, I've never been to Kingdom. I'm sure they're great. Hopefully they're great. But it's like, I've been to Conquest plenty of times. I've been to Yukon your place plenty of times. And I've been to Black Flag plenty of times. They're all wonderful and they're all unique to their own way of doing things and their own style. And so it's like, you should absolutely find a place that works well for you.
Yeah, we don't do warm-ups. I don't believe in it. That's always like, if I'm going to train with Bill, I'm like, are you doing warm-ups? Like, I'm not running around. Like, don't make me do it. Like, and I say we don't do warm-ups, but like, we'll do some sort of warm-up drill, but I'm not there to be like your fitness coach. I'm not going to make you run laps. So like, you're here for an hour and a half. We're going to do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. You can come early if you want to do warm-ups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
and I've been to places where like the first, if it's an hour-long class, like the first 25 minutes are warm-ups. And then it's like 25 minutes of coaching. And then it's 2 rounds and go home.
Well, I'm going to get on a tirade and I hope some of my students are listening. Like I like trained in that era where you like weren't supposed to ask questions or ask black belts to train. I always try to like the last 5 minutes. I'm like, do you guys have any questions about anything that it doesn't have to be related to anything I've taught?
Right.
And like, they'll just be like, like, but you just want to take as much, like soak up as much knowledge as possible because it's a lot. Like jiu-jitsu, like I still learn. I'm 20 years in and I'm like, I'll see moves. I'm like, I have no idea what that was. No idea what they just did, how they did it.
That's crazy. I went to like a seminar this weekend and it is crazy how just a different perspective, a different thing. And you're like, oh, well, that's like forever going to change how I do this. Like, cool. That's like, that was worth $80. Like that is a totally eye-opening thing, a totally different like perspective of looking at something.
When some people are weird about seminars, and I think like getting the hands-on at seminars helps a lot because you can watch like BJJ fanatics and watch videos and try to grasp a concept, but like having somebody like actually you feel the concept out is a big difference. I am blessed in like it's a blessing and a curse. But I am always, whenever there's a seminar, the guy doing the seminar will never roll with me, which is always a bummer because he's like, no. And I'm like, I get it. But whenever they are demonstrating moves, you're always the okay. I'm always the okay, at least for part of it. They'll do it on somebody for a while and they'll be like, well, if you have like a bigger guy, you over there. And then I'm like, yeah, cool. But it's great. I love it because like, I get the real hands-on, I get to feel and like actually understand, I feel like to a higher level, what's happening from the seminar. Okay. So you're on the topic of like being the partner at a seminar. So for like the people listening, I have a birth injury in my left arm. It's called a brachial plexus injury. So my left arm is slightly shorter than my right and I don't have as much feeling. So we're at a Jean-Jacques seminar. So this is my coach and my best friend, Tommy, is a officer in Yukon and he's asking a question about gun retention and he has me do the move with him. And so Tommy mounts me and he's talking about somebody reaching for your firearm like while you're mounted on them, what you should do. Like strong side for most officers is right side. So I have to reach up with my left arm. It's like 250 people in this room and I'm just like glaring at Tom.
Yeah. Did you plan this?
This is the worst experience. And then we went to this seminar again this year in May, and like it's the running joke between me and all my friends who own schools under Sean Jock. Like Tommy wanted to demonstrate another or like ask questions about another technique, and Eric, the guy who ran it, was like, Tommy, what are you doing this time? He was like, don't do it again. I was like, oh, so.
Again, this just reminded me too, because I think the same thing with like jiu-jitsu. Like I think this is how, as like somebody who runs a business or a business owner or whatever, I feel like you hope to create an environment that's like perfect for everybody. But like at the end of the day, I think there's also some people who aren't going to appreciate what you do and why you do things differently. And I think that's why it is important to like, because I will be honest, my first experience in jiu-jitsu in Oklahoma City, not in Missouri when I was at the Shoot Fighting Academy, but was like, I went to a jiu-jitsu gym that was recommended to me, and it was one of the absolute worst experiences I have like ever had doing anything. And if it wasn't for like me being like, maybe it was just that place, I'm going to go check out somewhere else, and then loved it. And I was like, oh, this is so much better.
Well, and I will tell people when they come in, if they're like, oh, and you know, sometimes people will come in, they'll be like, we're like literally only doing the free trial. And I'm like, well, you should do all of them. Like you should do mine, you should do Conquest, you should do Kingdom, you should do Black Flag, Cultures over there. You should literally like do all of them, and you're going to find the place that fits you the best, because like we're all very, very different. Right. And also like sometimes people come in, I'm like, I don't really want this person. Go somewhere else. So
I will tell this story. I won't say where it was. I'll tell you after. But
I'll post it on the internet.
Yeah. The first place, and maybe I've told this story on the podcast before, but the first place that I went and did jiu-jitsu at, I'm talking like the loner gi from the front desk, like full on trial class, never done anything. And I walk in, no idea what to do. I'm thinking like, oh, this is probably like wrestling. I probably shouldn't walk on the mats with shoes on. So I'm like, cool, I'll wear sandals, take my sandals off. I saw somebody like bow as they got on the mat. I'm like, cool, I'll do that too. I like get on the mat. I'm like stretching, because that's what some other people are doing by myself, like in the corner. And there's a group of like 3 guys, decent sized dudes for sure. And the one who is we're probably like, probably a little bit further than you guys are from each other, like pretty close though, within like 10 to 15 feet from each other. And the guy who was facing me says, excuse my French, but this I have to quote. He goes, yeah, big guys like to show up around here and then they get their fucking ass kicked. And I'm like just sitting there stretching, and I'm like, nah, he can't be talking to me. Like, I literally have not said a word to anybody but like the front desk person. So I'm like, okay, maybe they're just telling a story or whatever, but it felt kind of like, you know, okay, whatever. So then I'm like, cool. We start doing warm-ups and stuff. And I kind of start talking to a different guy, and he's a blue belt. It was super nice. And he was like, do you want to drill with me? And I was like, yeah, that'd be awesome. And so we did some drilling, and then the coach is like, okay, cool. That's like what we're doing for class today. And we'll get some rounds in. And he asked me, he was like, do you feel comfortable to roll? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, like I wrestled a little in high school. Like, in my mind, you know, I'm like, I did some jiu-jitsu before. I know what's going on here. Not a clue. And so we're like, cool. So I end up rolling with that blue belt guy. And the guy who was being really aggressive at the beginning, he was a blue belt as well.
Of course he was.
And so we finished the first round with the guy I was drilling with, which is pretty typical. And then like timer, you know, goes. And as soon as that round ends, I look over and the first dude is just beelining it at me. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like whatever. So we start rolling, and he just immediately like, I think we might've started down. I don't remember. But anyway, he like topside side control, knee on belly, and then goes back to side control and just like digs his shoulder into my face for like a minute and a half. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I physically do not know how to get out of it. And the dude is a decent size. He's over 250 pounds, like a big guy. Right. And so like, I'm like, okay, I don't really know how to get out. And so I'm like, I just tap and I'm like, yeah, but just felt kind of stuck there. So, we start to kind of go again, and then the timer goes off, and then he goes, and like his group of friends were like right next to him, and he goes, yeah, made him fucking tap to pressure. And I'm like, and I kind of like, hey man, I'm sorry, did I like do something to like offend you? Cause I'm just like bewildered at this point. Like, what could I have done? And I'm like, did I do something to like upset you in any way, man? Like, I feel like at first I wasn't sure if your first comment was towards me, but now it kind of feels like it. And the coach like kind of comes over and is like, cause I'm not trying to like cause this. I'm just like genuinely like, what did I do to make you mad? And he comes over and he's kind of like, you okay? And I'm like, oh, I just feel like, you know, he's like kind of been rude towards me and I don't know why. And he was like, oh, okay. And I'm like, maybe I did something wrong. Like genuinely, this is my first day. If I did, I'm actually sorry. And the coach was like, the coach is just not a very large human. Just kind of put that out there. And he was like, well, why don't you do next round with me? And I'm like, okay, cool. Like that would be great. So the timer's so we're like, the rest break's about to end. He stops everyone else from rolling, takes me and him to the middle of the mat, and then proceeds for 5 minutes. He's a black belt for 5 minutes to just, you know, like
ragdoll you,
literally ragdoll me. You know what I mean? Again, like you got to kind of keep in mind. And I think sometimes jiu-jitsu and stuff like that doesn't get put in the same way, but I was explaining this to somebody else the other day. It's like, imagine you play golf for 10 hours a week, every week for the last 6 to 20 years, right? You are now going to play a one-on-one like match. You know, you're going to go do stroke play against a guy who has never held a golf club in your life, in his life. And you're like, whooped his ass. And it's like, well, yeah, dude, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
Just for 5 minutes, just ragdolls me. I mean, like legit taps me 15 times. You know what I mean? In any way that he wants. And then stops class again after he beats me and explains how this is a perfect example of how size discrepancy doesn't matter in jiu-jitsu. That him as a smaller man can take on a bigger man, even because he knows jiu-jitsu and I don't.
Okay, so
now
on a soapbox.
Now, as like that's 6 years ago, I am now like, bro, what? Like, never in my life could I imagine. I can't even. If somebody were to tell me that story now, as like where I am in jiu-jitsu, I'd be like, that's a made up story. Like, there's no way somebody would do that.
I have one that's pretty bad as well, but the thing with the size and skill discrepancy that I always tell people, I'm like, it does matter. Like a big blue belt can beat like a brown belt that's 150 pounds, like right. Because they don't need to know as much because you can't. I always tell people like strength is a technique. It's just not a technique that most people like. You would never tell a flexible person like stop being so limber.
Right. That's what Bill says. Stop being fast so guys. Don't be fast.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. But I went and trained somewhere in California before I was under Jean-Jacques. I'm not gonna say where, and I think it was a white belt. And I'll also keep in mind, I'm like a kid. I'm 16. Like,
so this is recent.
Yeah. I told you, like you said, I don't look great. Life's been hard, but he's like making us name submissions. Like through the line. And I think I said something dumb, like something flying.
Sure.
And he was like, demonstrate it. And I was like, yeah, dude, it was super embarrassing. I'm like, oh, we paid to fly out here, and then like you're just gonna try to humiliate me. Also, I trained with like a big blue belt, and he like smashed the shit out of me.
Sure.
Made my nose bleed.
Fun.
And then my dad was like, I'm gonna fight this guy. Yeah. I'm like, we're just gonna leave. We just left. And I was just like, and that's kind of like, it's been a huge influence on how I treat people when they come in, and like that's why. Like we do Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but like all of my shirts say American jiu-jitsu because there are certain things I don't make people do. Like you don't have to call me professor. One, because I think it's dorky. Like I don't want, it's just kind of a silly thing when you get to a black belt. Like I understand it's respectful, but I don't want you to do that. And I don't make, like, some schools you like can't face a certain person. You have to face the wall when you tie your belt. This is America. I'm not going to do that.
Right.
Like, you can face whatever way you want when you tie your belt. Like, I bow when I go on the mat, but I don't make people. I'm like, that's just because I have a lot of respect for this, like this place, not necessarily me, but also I did karate forever. So it's like a habit.
Right.
Like, you don't have to, you can, it doesn't matter to me. And there's lots of other things. I'm like,
I have trained somewhere where you had to ask to get a drink of water. Like, may I have, like, professor, may I have a drink of water?
You're okay. This is my peeve with that. I'm like, you're paying to be there. You are paying to be there. And you, like, people are like, you got to ask me your permission. I get it when you do things differently with kids, but I'm like, these are adults. Adults. Like, they drove here. They pay taxes. Yeah, I know. Some people really like love that. And you know, that's good for them. They can go to those schools. But other people, I'm like, this is their hobby. Like, they are escaping reality here, and I'm not going to make them miserable because they like want to have a hobby outside of like whatever their life is. And that's the same way like, when people are drilling, like some coaches will hound them. I always tell people, I'm like, I want you to drill as much as you feel like you need to until you know the move. But like, when it comes to your promotion, like, I'll remember that. Like, I'm never gonna be like, you have to drill more, you have to do this. I'm like, you want to do 4 or 5 and feel like you know it, that's fine, but your skill is going to reflect it, and like how fast you come up is going to reflect it too. Right. So,
have you guys seen those camps that like cost like multi-thousands of dollars, like $10,000 camps? They're like for like grown men, and the only clips I've ever seen of it are like, they're like yelling at you, making you do like super hard, like physical things. It's not a workout. They're like making you like all carry a big log together or like do a plank. And it's like, it's
paying to go to boot camp.
You're paying to go to boot camp. Yeah. And it's like, it'd be like $10,000 to go. Have you guys seen those?
Yeah, I've seen those. If there's anybody out there that wants to do anything like that, you can just go help my dad, and you can take him like the wrong screwdriver. It's like the same experience.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
And it'll cost you a lot less.
Yeah. So. It will cost almost nothing. Yeah.
I'm sure there's more to those than I'm seeing, but like I have seen some that have gotten blown up for like being like, this is just like, you're like a pledge in a fraternity.
Right. What's I don't know his name. He's like a car salesman guy. And he was like, you can't work for me unless you have a 6-pack or something like that. What? I'll have to find it and show it to you after that. But it's wild. It's like the same thing as like yelling at people. He's like, if you're not making $100,000 a month, you're a loser.
How many?
Dude, there's some crazy car salesmen out there.
Dude, that's so crazy. I think, and back to this story, 2 things. One is like, I think it's why, because that is a gym that people like, they had a better experience than I did. And that is a gym that people go to. So maybe that is the right fit for you. And, that's it. I'm super thankful that I didn't give up on jiu-jitsu at that moment. I went somewhere else and tried again and really liked it. And then 2, I have never been back to that gym, but I really want to. I really want to go back because I want to, like, Dojo Storm style, like go in and challenge him in front of all of his students again.
I'll have your back.
Yeah. Because I think I would thrash him now.
Well, I think it's important at a gym. Like when new people come in and people say that like white belts are the most dangerous, which is true because they're spazzy. Like they're probably going to hit you, elbow you, like do something on accident. And if you give them a submission, I'm saying give, like you like give them your limb. They're the ones that like send it because they want it. Like they want that dopamine of making you tap. But I tell everyone that comes in, I'm like, the first few times I'm like going to let you like just be spazzy because it's hard. Like coming in here is hard. Like that's the hardest part is coming in, training, putting yourself out there. But I'm like, after like 4 or 5 classes, if you don't calm down, then like somebody is probably going to give it to you.
Yeah.
And like, that's important. Like you have people at the gym that are like the quote unquote mat enforcers. I'm like, I don't do that anymore. I'm like, you guys do that. Yeah. Like you guys are the appointed mat enforcers. Go take care of them.
Culture kind of takes care of itself. That's nice. To your point earlier, with some people not being the right fit, you obviously even just letting certain people in can have a whole effect on the culture, but even trying to cater to different people. There's a little girl jumping we have tinted windows and she can see herself in the mirror. So she's doing a dance right here.
She can't see us.
He's shaking his booty. I'm sorry. They were making me lose track of what I was saying.
I think they can see. Hello. Hi.
Busted. He was like, oh no.
Oh man. But yeah, even trying to like where I know for us, like trying to cater to two different people, like even different customers for, different types of products or different, maybe deals or discounts or, whatever it be to, get their business. And to a certain extent, if we change to be for everybody, we start to lose existing customers. So.
Right. Yeah. That's one of the sayings that like has kind of formed for us over the years is like, that goes along with that is like when you start to try to be for everybody, you end up being for nobody. Mm-hmm. And so we find that a lot in products that will like name themselves flavor, but it's like, so like the saying that we've kind of gotten to with it is like, don't make pina colada without coconut, because it's like, people are like, oh, like I want to make people love pina colada, but then there's also people who don't like coconut. So what if we just made a pina colada without coconut? And then you realize it's like, well, now the pina colada people hate it. And then somebody who doesn't like coconut was never going to buy pina colada in the first place. So why are we making, there was a brand that came out with a product that was like, it had like a super sour name to it. And it was not sour at all. And I'm like, all you did was like piss off the people who wanted something sour. And then the people who don't like sour was never going to buy it in the first place. Like, so it's like, you got to find something of like you can cater to a lot of people in like a broad stroke of things that like people appreciate. But yeah, when you start getting into well, we want to, I want to be a super hard, intense place to train that's just nothing but bloody noses and puking in the back. Like, that's great, but you're not going to have people who like just want to come and do this as a hobby. Like, you got to have like something there.
I have a theory, and it's probably going to hurt some people's feelings, but the harder somebody trains off the bat, like the less time they're going to last, but like the less they're willing to play, like to pay. Like, those are the people I always have to shake down for money. Like, the people that come in and like go balls to the wall, those are the people I have to be like, hey, you're like 3 months behind.
Oh no.
You can't come back until you're due.
Right.
I don't know. There's places for everybody, but I am trying to be different in a sense that I want you to come in, like I want you to learn all the techniques, but I don't need all of that. I don't need you to be like professor. I don't need
No, I think you have a really solid balance of like, you create a very fun and like welcoming environment, because jiu-jitsu innately is not welcoming, right? It is not something that like most people walk past the jiu-jitsu gym and go, I want to go do that, right? Like, it's not some like
literally people fighting.
Right. Like, it's one of the, we even talk about it now. If somebody's like maybe getting in trouble at work, right? And like, it's gotten to a point where like, maybe we have to do a write-up. The thing that we always say is like, the write-up is the stick. I don't also have to be a jerk. Like, I don't also have to yell at them. Like, this is going to carry plenty of weight. This is going to be the thing that's already whacking them. I don't need to also, like, I can go in there and be like, hey, man, we've been doing some stuff good, but like, man, we really need to work on this. This is a situation that happened. I think you can understand why that's not acceptable. And so unfortunately, we got to put you on a write-up kind of thing. Where if I go in there and I'm like, you fucked this up and you fucked it, it's like, man, I'm really doubling down, because like, this is design of this is to send a message. So it's like,
so that you don't have to be the jerk.
Right. Exactly. It's like jiu-jitsu, I feel like, is intimidating enough that you don't also then have to try to be intimidating to everybody that's coming in there as well.
No. You almost have to like overcompensate on the other side a little bit.
Yeah,
right.
No, like really sometimes when I'm training with new people, and especially like white belts, they'll be like, I want you to go hard. Like, I want you to go really hard. I'm like, that is going to do nothing but discourage you.
Right.
Like, it's not going to do anything for you. But if I do want to discourage people, like especially the new people that are smaller statured, I'll be like, you guys, I'll be like, Jasmine, go roll with them. And Jasmine's my fiance, and she's a blue belt, but she should be a purple belt. But she's always like, don't, Dad, I'm not ready. I'm like, that's not your call. Yeah. It's not your call at all, but whatever.
Like, yes, ma'am.
Literally. But I'll be like, go roll with them. And they'll be like, oh, and she's just like, one, she is extremely strong, which I hate. I'm sure she hates to hear, because everybody tells her that. They're like, you're so strong. Like, it's like I've never had that compliment in jiu-jitsu, so I don't know what that's like. But she's super technical, and I'll just like have her mop the floor with them.
Yeah.
So,
dude, I always say that because I do think that is part of jiu-jitsu is like you have to be somewhat in like a weird place, either in life or like just sick in the head enough that you're like, I want to go and I'm ready to step into something and be awful at it. Like I'm ready to be the worst person in the room at this, no matter what. And that is a really tough place for a lot of people to get. It's why I've invited 200 people in my life to jiu-jitsu, and I think 2 have ever shown up. Right. And understandably so, like, you have to kind of be in a place where you're comfortable with that. And I remember because I had my first round was like a crossroads in that for me. Do you know Ha Bui? She trains over at Conquest. I think she might've just moved actually, but she trained at my original gym that I trained at, and the sweetest, she's so nice. She's a little older than I am. And she's probably like, I don't know, maybe 115 pounds, like soaking wet with weights in her pocket kind of thing. Also is like medaled at pans at brown belt. Right. And my very first round of jiu-jitsu at my like new place was against her. And similar to like the like experience with Jasmine is like, she like, brother, she beat the brakes off of me and was like the sweetest human about it the whole time. And I remember just being like, that was the most humbling thing. I cannot wait to come back tomorrow. Like that was amazing. I want to know how to do that. Like,
and it takes forever to learn how to roll in a way that you can like do it sustainably and train like 4 or 5 times a week. That's what you'll have those guys that come in like once a week and want to just go like as hard as they can. I'm like, some of us are doing this all week long, multiple times a day. Like you're going to have to slow it down.
Right.
You know, and I don't tend to get my feelings hurt when people roll with me hard, but like as a coach, I watch everyone else, and that is like how you'll get me to go hard with somebody. I'm like, if you're rolling with my new white belt or my blue belt girl and you're like going as hard as you can, then I'm going to turn it up.
Right.
So
you got to be the enforcer sometimes, huh?
Yeah. Well, I like to keep it, you know, in my back pocket and every once in a while I'll turn it on when I can, but I don't do it very often.
Yeah.
Also, I want you to know the amount of paranoia I feel not being over there while classes are being taught.
I'm sure.
It's not just that, but the one time I left with Jasmine, we went to Arkansas. They had open mountain. I was gone, and Tommy called me and was like, "Hey, don't panic." But Tyler broke his leg. And I was like,
he like broke his leg.
I was like, all right, lock the doors, take the signs off the wall. We're done.
Well, that's a tough one too, because it's just like anything, like freak stuff happens. And I know in like his situation, it's just like a freak thing. It wasn't somebody going too hard. It wasn't somebody doing a move too hard or that they shouldn't have done. It's just like one of those, like you step wrong and things just go.
You know, it's weird. I don't even know if Tyler's going to listen to this, but like just his transition from like when he started as a white belt to now, I would like he could be a mat enforcer, but he could also roll with anybody. And that's so crazy to watch people to go from like a new white belt and they're a little bit crazy, but now you can like put them with anybody, but also like if you needed them to, they could turn it on.
Right.
So
yeah, that's like, I get that a lot at Outsiders where we'll have somebody and like the coach will like whoever's coaching class will go, all right. Yeah. Hey, how's it going, man?
That anxiety you talk about, I remember the first week that I didn't work any shifts at our first location where I'm used to, all the way up to working all 72 hours. The store is open. And at typically maybe around 40 or 50, at least working a couple of shifts, but like always, even when I wasn't on shift, like being there, like in the back there in case anything went wrong, you know, like prepared to handle anything. And I remember the first week was when we were opening up our normal location. So it's after 5 years of just being in location, like every hour of every day, pretty much. I had to step away and like put in some work at a coffee shop because there was a lot of back end stuff that needed to happen to get that store prepared. And I was spending a lot of time down in Norman as well. So it was like 50% of the time was at this store doing build out, 50% of the time was at this coffee shop. So I was like not at this store. Like for the first entire week that I did this, it was like there was this constant anxiety of like, I bet no one's shopping with us anymore. I bet we have no customers. It was like just this crazy, like I'm not there. People aren't going to want to shop with us anymore because I'm not there. There's problems happening. They're probably burning us down, it's burning the store to the ground. And it was like, but there's no reason for that, for me to think that. So,
well, and and Jasmine's been a big part of it. And like, I'm trying to be like, one, I want other people to teach because I may not teach you in a way that you comprehend. Like somebody else may teach you in a way that you understand the technique better, but also like I've done my best to build the culture of the gym, and those people can just carry it on without me being there. So, and there's certain days, like especially like by Thursday when I've taught 3 nights and done a bunch of day classes, or even in school, like the girl that works my front desk, I told her the other day, like I work like 8 to 4, and then my first class here is at 5. So like I'm literally like rushing from Oklahoma City to here to make the first class, and she's like, "You look ran through." I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like getting ready to teach these kids, but like it's just that's the hard part of leadership, is like finding people that you trust to put it in their hands and let them take the reins.
It is like,
especially with jiu-jitsu, where limbs can be broken.
Right.
That's not a risk at Triad all the time. So yeah.
Unless they're messing up.
When Thomas is HR.
Is that your write-up?
Try,
put your hand on the table.
Pick a finger or toe. Your second one is wrist or ankle. So yeah, it's that'd
be easy for me. I'd be like, just anyone off this hand.
Yeah. That's 5 write-ups.
I'm good. Well, and there is like understated, like I have, how long you been coaching now, jiu-jitsu?
Oh, like over, like, I don't know, 13, 14 years.
Yeah. That is like one of the things just in coaching, like the little that I have, I mean, I probably coached, I don't know, 40 classes kind of thing. Like, man, you also realize like how difficult it is to just have things to teach all the time. And like, what am I going to go over today? And like,
well, and that's why I like to have other people teach, because like they're trying to convey this thought that they have or this move, and they're like, people aren't getting it. I'm like, yeah, that's just harder than it looks.
Dude, it's so much harder
to gain an appreciation.
When it's hard, like there are a million techniques, but even still now, I feel like I've done all of these.
Right.
But then I show the move, and I'm like, you guys can't do this.
Right.
So like, it's hard. And like the same thing, like you want to like teach for everyone, but it doesn't work. Like everybody has a different game. And so like when I'm teaching techniques, I try to generally each month, like I try to have like an idea or a premise that we're teaching around. Like right now we're teaching like limb control. So like, and Bill is the one that taught me this, like, and the way he phrases it, I really like you got to control A and C to break B. So like with limbs, like and we're just, whoever's teaching, that's what we're doing. We're all going through that no matter what class, even if it's not the same technique, like the principle is the same. So.
Yeah. I think like a good way to kind of like, explain it, and I think a way that would make sense, because obviously you haven't done jiu-jitsu before, I would compare jiu-jitsu and like teaching and like figuring out stuff is probably very similar to skateboarding in the sense of it's like, I can show you how to do this all day long and I can explain it, but there's probably going to be something that you're going to do that's going to make click and work just a little bit better for you specifically, your body type, your way that you kind of like perceive things and do things.
It's going to be like one certain cue that kind of tips it off, and it could be like 100 different things.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing that's like so funny too, is like, I haven't been doing it nearly as long as Chase has, but I'm sure these things happen.
I'm only 16.
Yeah. Where like I will do something this happens to me, like not all the time, like, or very often even, but it's like, I will be like, Oh, like how many like, oh, and now this makes sense. Like, why have I been like this one mental thing happens where just like it finally clicks and it's like, oh, okay. Or you do like a seminar or something where like a guy shows something, and most of the time it is literally as silly as it is, but probably similar to like skateboarding too, is it's like, oh, dude, your hand and your wrist is a half an inch too far. And if you were to just slide this back a half an inch, you'd be like, oh, that now really works.
Wow.
And so there's a ton of stuff like that where it's just like, oh, you're going too far or you're not going far enough. And it can literally be like the tiniest little adjustments, like micro adjustments that need to like happen in order to have something click and like make sense.
That's interesting.
And so I'm sure like I skateboarded some, you skateboarded a lot more than I did, but I'm sure it's kind of like a similar thing where it's just like, oh, dude, yeah, well, when you're trying to do this, like, if you're off by 3 millimeters of putting pressure in the wrong spot, like trying to do a move, it might never land for you because that 3 millimeters of where that pressure is going is making a difference.
Interesting. I'm like imagining like cues for a golf swing too.
Yeah, it'd be very similar. That's when I go to seminars now, especially I just went to the Jean-Jacques camp in Dallas. Like I'm always looking for a principle, like because moves, like they'll show so many moves at a seminar, like you get what we call seminar brain. That at some point I'm just like, where are we going to eat after this? Like, but like that's the like Jean-Jacques showed us like this principle about hip attachment when you're in the guard when you're trying to pass, and I was like there are things that I see that like that I'm like that makes me want to quit. Like I like should have taken up another hobby. Like I've been wasting my time. Like he shows me that, and I'm like, oh my god, I've rolled 1,000,000 times and I've never done it that way.
Right. Dude, yeah. And that's something that like happens and I think that that's kind of part of the beauty of jiu-jitsu too, is like, I tell people this pretty regularly too, is it's like, you could do jiu-jitsu for at least for 6 years. It's still happening to me where it's like, I could go to a class, something could happen in that class and the way I do jiu-jitsu will be changed forever. It will make a profound difference in how I do jiu-jitsu. Like, oh, okay, well, if I just do this, well, then like, and it just like opens a whole new world of like opportunities or things that you can do with it. And I think that that's like one of the coolest parts about jiu-jitsu.
Do you guys feel like you have classes or like even stints of time where it's like, man, I don't feel like I progressed or like I haven't learned much at all? And then like stints where you...
Yep.
Yeah, we get like at class, we're joking, like we call them quiet rides home. Like where you like don't turn the radio on, you're just like driving. You know? But yeah, I mean, everybody stagnates. You just got to find like you generally. I know people who are jiu-jitsu fanatics will like get all butthurt about this, but like if I take like 1 or 2 nights off, that generally will get me out of it because then I'll be excited to go again. Like if I'm there Monday through Friday and people are like, why aren't you at open mat on Saturday? I'm like, because I've been here. Then the worst part is like, they'll be like, well, we want to roll with you. I'm like, I have no rolls left.
Yeah, I'm out.
None. I have 0 rolls.
One of the most interesting things that happens, and I explain this concept a decent amount because we just had a bunch of people pretty recently get promoted to blue belt. And so there's a thing called like, we jokingly called like the blue belt blues, where it's like people, because it is your first like major achievement that happens in jiu-jitsu, you do it. And then you like realize that like, you only made 1 lap and then the laps don't end. And so then you're like, oh, the finish line's right there. And you're like, I crossed it. And then they're like, okay, like on your mark, get set, go, you know? And so it's like this, you feel like, oh, I finally achieved this thing. And now I'm like starting all over in a sense. And a lot of people will quit and they just like, as soon as they get their blue belt, they like don't come back. I think another really big part of why people quit at blue belt, and I explained this, I was just explaining, to a couple of our newer blue belts the other day, was you get into this really weird headspace that happens where an illusion is created that you're not progressing at the same speed. And why that happens is a couple of reasons, but one of the big ones is, let's say you are a blue belt or you are about to get your blue belt, you just got your blue belt, and we have somebody who comes in who's new. Well, when they're new, you're going to ragdoll them. The thing is like, you know, if if jiu-jitsu is a mile long, well, the first couple of feet, you learn a bunch really, really fast. And what you're learning
newbie gains
is
That's
how
literally what I was going to compare it to. It's like newbie gains. And
you learn how to not die, right? Like that's the first thing. And so you have this like 100-mile-an-hour sprint that like you like, oh, okay, cool. I now know how to not get fucked up because I understand a little bit more of when I'm in danger, when I'm not, where to put my head, where not to put my head. Like if I put my arm out, like this is going to get broken. So like, I'm not going to do that anymore. And a lot of those things are pretty like inherently like understandable. And so you really get a bunch right then. So what ends up happening is you're a blue belt. Your first 6 months of blue belt, you will go with somebody brand new. You'll be able to tap them 10 times. And at the end of 6 months, you might be able to tap them twice, maybe. Right. And so what happens is you go, fuck, I used to be able to kill this guy. And now I can barely get him. Like this, it's so hard for me to tap him now. Man, I suck. And it's like, no, you don't suck. You've actually continued to get better and better and better through this. The thing that happens is this like rush to here is a whole lot faster than what it is here. And I really do feel like that because that was a big thing that I like struggled with too. Is like I'd have somebody and you know, maybe they've been training a couple months and I'd be like just messing with them, you know, I could just destroy them. And then it's like, well, then another class happens and I'm like, okay, well, I kind of actually had to work a little bit there. And then it's like, okay, now I'm like actually having to work here quite a bit. And then you start to get this like mindset of like, not that they're just progressing on how to not get fucked up. It's like, you can easily perceive it as like, I'm not getting any better. And this guy's going to lap me in 2 weeks. Kind of thing.
I tell people like that's why I suggest going to other gyms open mats because if you and I train together 4 days a week, I know the 4 moves that you use. So like it's very easy. 5. But that's right. I'm like you know each other's games. Like it gets kind of boring. And so if you want to like really like you might demoralize yourself. I don't know, depending on where you go. But if you want to see really where you're at, go train with somebody who doesn't know how you roll your game.
Like, it's like, it is funny because I love like, I'll go somewhere else and it's like, oh man, like you just stepped into my half guard. Thank you. Where it's like, you go to my gym and I'm like, seated for half and they're like no I am not ever putting my foot in there again kind of thing. But yeah, I think that is a really good way of doing it. It's kind of like going against people who don't know what to expect because it's just like anything like,
but you also don't expect theirs.
Right. But it's like people they learn your script. They learn like where you want to go and what you're good at and like what you like and what you don't like. And it's like you train enough. I mean, you train with, you know, especially if you're there 5 days a week, like, I mean, I'm doing typically 5 classes a week kind of thing still. And so it's like, it's a lot of the same people, a lot of the same rounds. And it's like, yeah, this guy, I know what he's going to try to do. You know what I mean? Like Justin for morning class is going to flop over and try to play bottom.
Wait, hold on.
little shot at Justin.
I thought we were talking about jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I was like, you really didn't phrase that good. Like, well, at
no,
all.
I meant what I meant.
Okay, that's fine. Whatever.
Yeah, but I think golf's another really solid comparison too. Of it's like, you know, if every time on your golf swing, for whatever reason, whether it was like when you were being taught or what you were paying attention to, like when you were being taught or videos or whatever you were watching, well, it's like if you never like in your golf swing, like keep this, you know, keep your right arm, if you're right-handed, like tucked towards the body, like, and it's out an inch, that is going to drastically affect your swing, every swing you take forever.
Yeah. You think about how many ways are there, like, especially when you first start golf, like how many ways are there to swing this golf club? It's like, yeah, there's probably some like good form and bad form. And it's like, well, there's a major difference between, you know, someone that's even a major difference between a scratch golfer and Tiger Woods.
Right.
So,
dude.
And probably even bigger difference between someone that's just hitting the course and a scratch golfer.
Right. Exactly. Right. It's nuts, man.
You guys like the whiskey?
It's really good.
Yeah, it's very good.
I'm about to start telling Thomas my feelings towards him.
Do it. So what got you, What got you originally hooked up with Jean-Jacques?
Well, we were under somebody else, and my dad and I had been talking about switching, and Jean-Jacques is missing fingers on his hand. So I kind of have always been inspired by him because of my left arm. And so I just reached out to Jay Zabalos, who he himself calls him his left-hand man. So I didn't make that up. That's what they say. And is
that what Tommy calls him?
Yeah, to me. I do tell Tommy, you're my left-hand man. But Jay has been probably just as big of an influence as Jean-Jacques because he's been out way more, and I spent a lot of time with him, and I've known him just as long. But
we were shooting a podcast one time, and he was walking across the parking lot because you had him in town.
Oh, nice.
And I'm like, that's like one of the best.
Yeah, he's I
remember that
4th degree black belt.
Yeah.
And he's the most humble person I've ever met, and he will like mop the floor with you, but he would never. And I think that's part of where I've gotten that coaching style from is him, because he is like super gentle and like won't turn it on unless you do. And
right.
But is like I said, he's Jean-Jacques' left-hand man, and he essentially like helps run the affiliation, and he'll travel for seminars and do all of that. But I reached out to him. I think at the time I don't even know if he was a black belt at the time. He was a brown belt, or he might have just gotten this black belt, but I don't remember exactly. But yeah, that was in 2013.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2012.
One of the things that I've like heard, and just like talking to different people, and like we had Jason Deadman on the podcast, is how intentional Jean-Jacques is with people who like he affiliates with them in life in general, kind of thing. And that is something that I've heard like pretty consistently of anybody who's been involved with him, of like, you'll meet him, and like you'll mention something about your kids, and 6 years later he'll ask you about it, kind of thing. Like he's super intentional, and very much like pays attention and like cares about the people who he's around.
Well, and at camp, like he made time, like we all went to breakfast and got to spend time with him. And yeah, he is super intentional. He texts me on my birthday, like every year. Like
that's cool.
He reaches out to everyone. Like, there's a lot of, I hate the term, but toxic behavior with affiliations. Like a lot of them really do just want your money. But Jean-Jacques is at the point now where they are very picky on who they choose to let be a new affiliate, because you are representing their brand. Like that's a big deal. So they are picky and choosy, and they get to be. So
and I think that's like a super cool thing, because if you do it right, you can get to that point where you can be picky. You know what I mean? Where it's like you want the right people representing you. And again, because I mean it is the same kind of thing. It's almost a franchise to an extent of like, this is an affiliate, this is a representation of this.
Well, and when we originally were teaching, we were all under the same person everyone else in the metro was. And so like wasn't super happy with, because I felt like it was about the money, but I was young, but I wanted to do something to differentiate us as well.
Right.
So, but we've been to California a bunch. We've had Jean-Jacques out here, but I think, 13, 14 years, somewhere like that.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
So it's weird that I've been a black belt for 6 years.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That 6 years you were getting ragdolled by some people that you didn't even know.
I know. I see this person all the time too. And I'm like, one day I'm going to just show up for like an open mat. And just
there'll be an opportunity.
What's weird is like within Jiu Jitsu is like people don't even recognize their own behavior like that.
No.
Like it'd be a totally like different thing if one day he walked up to you and was like, "Hey, I was a real dickhead that day. I'm sorry. Like I had a bad day. I
talked to him once.
Yeah.
I talked to him one time at a AGF, and I was like, "Hey, I don't know if you remember me, but like I actually did my like first ever class with you." And he was like, "Oh yeah, sorry, no man, I don't." And I'm like, "That makes sense."
I bet you do.
Yeah. You don't now, you will. But you're going to remember.
Yeah. That's the worst part. Like I say this all the time, and I said this to my friend Eric recently. Jiu-Jitsu only has two types of people: the best people and the worst. Like there is no in between. Like most people I meet in Jiu-Jitsu, they're awesome people, but with jiu-jitsu, sometimes people act like they have a superiority complex.
Well, it's very interesting because I think actually kind of going a little bit back to what we were talking about earlier. And this is, I think what does that is, unfortunately, there are two different kinds of people in jiu-jitsu, just like you're saying. And I think it's the people who are like, I am excited to go be humbled. I'm excited to be the worst at something. And I want to learn. That was so cool that Ha was able to whoop me as, you know, like a 100-pound lady. Like she was super nice about it. And like, that made me like, oh my gosh, I want to do this. That is like the ultimate expression to me of like how cool and effective this can be. And then I think there's people who like, I lost. I have to get back and kill them kind of thing. And it's like you have these people who like get angry at the idea of like being humbled. And then I think that the superiority complex, I think, builds within that too, of they're like, I'm mad every time I lose to a point of like freaking out. And now I have to be better. And I do feel like sometimes that like breeds some interesting folks for sure.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I've been teaching long enough now. I can tell when somebody comes in, like the second they walk in, if they're going to last or not. And maybe that's bad of me to be like, am I going to waste time on this person? Like I know, I can just tell. I can tell by the way people come in, the questions they ask me, and just their mannerisms and behavior. And one of the things, like I have tons of parents come in that want their kids to train, which is awesome, but especially like their teenage kids. I'm like, if you want them to train, like you have to train too. And that's something like my dad did. He was like, he saw me training. He was like, I'm doing this too. One, I probably like don't want him doing this to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, my dad was right out there with me doing the same thing. And I think that's part of the reason I stuck with it, is because he was doing it too.
That's super
and
cool.
so most people, like, you want your kid to do something, but you won't do it. And in the same, like the other side of that coin, you'll have parents bring their kids 5-6 times a week. I'm like, do you do anything 5 or 6 times a week? Like, are you you're making them do this, but you don't do anything that's like even close to this behavior.
Right.
So, and you have like this expectation for them to be great, but you like don't go to the gym or
Don't
anything.
set a great example.
Yeah.
Right. I do think that is a really interesting thing. I think that, yeah, if you're going to put your kid there is something to that. I think putting your kid in something like that, like, I am a firm believer, and I'm sure you're probably not far off on this too, but I think like every human between the age of like, especially guys between the age of like probably like 16, 17, 18 to probably about like 35 should have to do a week of jiu-jitsu, not for the fact that they're going to learn anything, but that they will then from that moment, like live in reality of like what is actually around. And like,
if everybody did a week of jiu-jitsu, there'd be like no street fights at all.
yeah,
Zero. Because like you would know. And that's what like I was talking about. Like I like avoid altercation. People will be like, oh, he's a black belt. But I'm like, I've also been punched in the face before. Like I fought MMA. Like I don't like it. I don't want to get hit.
Yeah.
I was not for me. So I live like very much in reality that I could do a bad takedown and hit my head on the floor and like be unconscious. I'm like, I'll just avoid it.
No, for real though. And that is like,
just cut me off. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I'm the same thing where it's just like, it is always funny. Like whenever you talk to people, and I'm sure everyone gets asked this, but it's like, do you think you could beat that person up? Do you think you could beat me up? And it's like
all the time.
Yeah. Why are you asking me that question? Maybe
sometimes my ego comes out. I'm like, don't ask me questions you don't want the answer
Yeah.
to. don't ask me questions you don't want the answer to. And then, yeah, people will test. And then like we're in Oklahoma, so there will be people like, we'll be talking about jiu-jitsu. And then there will always be that straight dude like, yeah, see how your jiu-jitsu works with my gun. Like, I'm also carrying a gun. And I can do jiu-jitsu. Like I'm one rung up. Like
that is,
or people will be like, well, what if I poke you in the eyes or do this? I'm like, if somebody can grapple, we can also poke you in the eye while we're like mounted on you. Like,
right. Yeah. I also like know how to avoid your fingers going into my eyeballs.
Yeah, it's not that hard.
Yeah.
Really not.
But it is like an interesting thing though, where I do think, again, like there was, there was a situation that happened with somebody that I know where they were going to ADCC, and they were in line at a fast food restaurant, and it was one of those ones where there's like concrete barriers on both sides of the drive-through, so they couldn't like get out. And as they were going around the curve, they got rear-ended. And so they're like, oh, okay, like, well, let me get like insurance info real quick, whatever. And some dude hopped out of his truck that was like 2 cars back and ran up and started pounding on the window of this person I know's mother was driving and calling her B-word, you dumb, blah, 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 blah. And so he was like, hey, you're not going to talk to my mom like that kind of thing. And he got out of the car and was like, hey, dude, like, you just need to chill out. You need to go back to your truck or whatever. Because the dude has nothing to do with it. He just is like frustrated, like waiting in line.
Jeez.
Oh, yeah. And this kid that I know trains a lot and trains a lot of striking and trains a lot of jiu-jitsu kind of thing. And he was like super calm, and this dude just starts slurs every bad thing he can say, just screaming. And he's 45. This kid is 16, screaming in his face. And he just is not retaliating. Like, he's just like, okay, man, well, like, are you going to do something about it? Or are you going to like go back to your car? Like, and the dude just throws this, like, the weakest push punch thing ever. And then this kid just 3-piece combo, dude, just clunk on the ground. And it's like, man, now
it's a thing.
Yeah. And it's like, you went from like, I know you really wanted your burger, but now you get a concussion too. Like, that's like not what you wanted, man. I promise.
Well, I talk about like, I try to touch on self-defense, especially with the kids at class. And I am very like, I'm becoming an old man, clearly by the look of my beard, but like I am becoming, have you heard Chael Sonnen talk about throwing the first punch? Have you heard him talk about that? I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, your middle school, like, female teachers told you, like, don't throw the first punch. And I tell the kids that I'm like, if you feel like somebody's coming towards you and they've crossed a physical boundary and they're going to like enact violence on you, then don't wait to be assaulted. Right. Like, you make that decision way before that happens. Like, you say, you cross this line. And then right, like if somebody's aggressively coming at you, screaming, saying slurs in your face, like kind of thing, it's like, that is like an aggressor. But Chael P. Sonnen says it way better. I'll have to find it. I don't have that heel behavior that he does.
But it is interesting too, because I do think like it's the same thing. Like, if you are going to put your kid in something like that, I think jiu-jitsu is amazing for kids. I think there is like an aspect of like, you should understand what this is. You should understand what this feels like. You should understand what this experience is like. And I know I'm like preaching to the jiu-jitsu choir of the classic, like, get up, like, just get up parents that are supportive, and that's great. But it's like, if you just need to experience and understand, like, I think there would be some really good insight of like, when you do this.
I've only had one parent, and this was like over a decade ago, that I was like, you probably should find somewhere else to take your kid, because not the kid. We went to a tournament. This girl was phenomenal. Like, could have been like world-class jiu-jitsu. And that's just like a case of a parent pushing a kid too far. But at a tournament, I shit you not, she told her not to tap. And I was like, I'm like, you what?
Yeah.
They're like, what? I'm like, this medal is like $6. You want one? I'll buy you one.
Yeah.
But I'm like, this tournament means nothing. Like, it means nothing. Is it awesome if you win? Yeah. But I'm like, you like putting your kid's livelihood on the line for something that you have no experience in. You don't know what that feels like. And they're a kid. Like, I don't remember if it was a choke or an armbar, but I was like, that is the craziest thing.
That is.
It was like, you're going to have to go somewhere else.
Right.
Yeah. Dude, who's that really big dude that you recommended or put on the potential ambassadors list that does jiu-jitsu and like, and is like, and lifted? He's like a massive human being.
Mobility monster guy. You seen him? He trains with Big Dan, and
Oh yeah.
Mobility
Yeah.
monster. The dude's like 6'6", like 360 pounds or something
Sweet.
like that. He's a monster.
I remember I followed him after we looked at him, and there's a funny post of like him just like doing a selfie video in his car. He's like, when the person behind me is having road rage, he's like,
Yeah, that would be a bad time. That would be a real bad time. It is. I think people should, just in general, like have to experience like there is a different thing in the world. Like your eyes to the world change the first time like you are held against your will. You know what I mean? In a safe environment, even like that is a whoa. I'm trying to stand up and I cannot like I cannot do anything right now.
Yeah, you'll be training. And the worst part is like if you're a new person training and you're in a great spot, like they'll have you in mount or your back or whatever, and they'll have you stuck there and they'll be like, you're doing great.
Yeah.
You're doing a wonderful job, but like you can't move, you can't escape. You have no idea what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, I was rolling this morning, and we're getting deep into the jiu-jitsu weeds right now, but I was rolling this morning. I was rolling with this kid. It's his 16th birthday. He's been training for a while. He's good. But I was able to take his back and like leg arm trap, and then bar arm, leg arm trap, and then both of my feet behind his back, and then just like
camel clutch.
Yeah, like he literally just has no, like I have both of my arms. He has no arms.
You guys just made up all those words.
Yeah. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, I could.
A camel clutch is a professional wrestling move. Just like pull on their heads. Yeah. That's what I was imagining.
But it's like, it is one of those things where you're like, you are stuck here and like, it's crazy. There is just something like there is. To your point, I think of what you made earlier too, just a second ago, is jiu-jitsu. Your first year of jiu-jitsu is like getting manhandled so much of the time, which I know like it might be discouraging for people to want to try it, but it is something where like I have so much respect for anybody who ever does like even just like 6 months of jiu-jitsu, because it's like you spent 6 months of being insanely uncomfortable every single time that you came to do this, like pretty much no matter what. And it's like, it's kind of the same way, like when I see somebody with a bunch of tattoos, I'm like, you earned that. I know what it's like to sit in that chair and earn it. And you did. And like, kudos to you. Even if I'm not a fan of the tattoos or whatever, it's still like, I know what that takes to get there. And that shit sucks at times. So it's kind of like somebody who makes it, especially like blue belt, you're like, man, I know you've been through the weeds. I know you've went through the woods on this. Like this is not an easy path to get there. Yeah. And like you made it through some of the hardest times I feel like that you'll go through.
Well, I think part of the reason you were talking about the blue belt blues, people quit, is like you spend all that time getting to blue belt and your defense is really good. And then you're trying to learn offense. It's like a whole another thing. You're like, I can't submit anybody worth anything. It's just a whole, I think to me, like black belt's awesome, but even since I've started, I always tell people, I'm like, once you make it to purple, like you're there. Right. Like then you're just figuring out your game for the rest of the time. Like purple is an advanced belt, and that's, to me, that's the most important and the hardest one to get to. Yeah,
that's Bill says the same thing, and that's like a thing that
I said it, not him. Oh, just kidding, Bill.
Yeah,
don't hurt me, it's a joke.
Bill, you say, but is
I'm in trouble.
They were talking to me very nicely, you know, and I fully understand jiu-jitsu and I take nothing for granted. That I have had the preliminary conversations about brown belt and those kind of things, which I fully understand is also one of those things that like I can have these conversations, I can have an expectation, and it might be 3 years from now that they decide to give it to me, because that is jiu-jitsu and I will respect their decision on whatever they feel is the right time to give it to me. But they were like, you know, if you were to compete again, you know, with like maybe potentially like the next time the whole, you know, circus comes through town, is like, you know, if we belted you before that, would you be comfortable to compete at like brown belt? And honestly, it's like, I think I'm more comfortable to compete at brown belt than I am at purple.
No, I tell people that
purple belts are like, they will kill you. Like they will try to kill. Where I feel like at brown belt, it's kind of like there's very competitive people who want to try very hard, and that still very much exists. But they also have like done jiu-jitsu long enough that they're kind of like, I'm not here to just like murder somebody.
Yeah, no, they're like, let's have fun. Like that's brown belts. They're like, they'll still roll hard and train hard. But yeah, no, you get to purple and they're trying to murder you.
Yeah, they're like, I'm going to turn your fucking foot backwards before this tournament's over. And you're like, okay, cool, chill. Like, I'm just here to have fun.
What I've heard that jiu-jitsu, like you graduate to another color belt, right? Is that the right terminology?
I honestly have no idea.
Well, you don't yeah. We just say somebody got belted.
Yeah,
Belted.
literally.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, is there, and it's up to the professor or their coach. Is there certain like criteria, like, because like everybody's so different, like how do they?
Okay. So some schools, which I think is BS, and that's just my opinion, you guys can hate me for, like, will make you test for it. But in like traditional Brazilian jiu-jitsu, that's not a thing. Like you just like earn it. And the reason I don't believe in that is his game is going to be way different than my game because we're two completely different people. You can't expect him to do this. Oh my God. You could have done that drill with Tommy perfectly fine. But it's just like stylistically, we're going to develop two different games and there's no way for me to judge you exactly the same. Like there are certain things by blue belt you should know, like certain defensive things and all of those, but to be like, also some people use it as a money scam. They'll be like, you got to pay to test and then fail you just to make you pay again.
Right. So, and the belt costs $200.
Yeah. Some jiu-jitsu schools are pretty culty. I'm not going to name it.
Yeah, there definitely are ones.
Is there like certain like general like check boxes or like as a coach?
It's usually like pretty defensive things, like the way you position yourself, escaping from certain positions, elbow positions. Like for me, it's not really any subs. Like there are some general ones that you should know, like the basic ones.
There is times though where it's just like I'm of the belief of like you can tap black belts all day long if you've got some crazy wonky style, but like if I were someone's direct coach and I was like, do a rear naked choke, which is like, you probably know how to do a rear naked choke, like the most uber bait. And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, I can't give you a blue belt until you know like the basics. Like you got to understand those.
Well, and I think that's why people who wrestled, like they progress really quickly because they know like body position and body mechanics and where to put themselves and where not to be. And that's why they generally progress faster is because they've grappled forever. Right. They don't know the moves, but they
know
can
how to grapple.
That makes sense.
But then there's also like, kind of like what Chase was saying, there are places that will be like, you need to have been at blue belt for 24 months and you need to show a proficiency at this list of things. And yeah, so it's like, okay, that's kind of like interesting. You know, I am much more, and this is kind of how everywhere I've always been. So maybe this is why I kind of feel this way. Kind of along the same lines is there really is, I do feel like a feel to it. Like you can just kind of tell when somebody is like, there's like strides I think people hit where you're just like, woo, okay, this person has figured something out. Something's happened here. They've really started to progress. And those are kind of the times where I feel like, okay, maybe this person is like kind of on their way to blue belt. I always like the easiest way in my mind, I think a lot of it happens is like, I think blue belt is like the ability to play music. Purple belt's the ability to write music. Like it's that I understand the ingredients it takes to bake a cake or to make something. Just give me ingredients and I can find. When you're a blue belt, I feel like there's a lot of like, oh, I know how to repeat something I've seen. I know that if I'm in mount, I can put my leg here, I can crawl up to here, I can go off to the side, and I can do an arm bar. Purple belt is understanding that like, okay, well, I need to create a static point and a fulcrum. I need, like he was saying earlier, I need to control A and C to break B. It's like, okay, well, if I can create a static point in a fulcrum, or like a fulcrum off that static point. Well, I can do that from anywhere. I don't have to be in that exact position that I saw to understand. I understand the ingredients that make it. So I think the best analogy is like, for me at least, is like the ability and the understanding of like, not just how to play written music, but like how to write music, because you understand the ingredients and things that it takes to do it.
Makes sense.
Because then it's like you realize that arm bars exist everywhere. It's just, hyperextended elbow. Well, you can do that from fucking every position in the world. I can do that sitting next to you. But if it's like the blue belt mind in my mind is like, oh, well, I need to get to this point to then do this thing I've seen before. I need to be in this
position to make sense.
And I don't know, you might disagree with me.
I mean, I pretty much will disagree with you just because I have oppositional defiance. I think and I agree with all that, but I like to see people like start to just sequence moves. So like you have one move and then you're doing another, like you're doing a triangle, then you're doing an arm bar. Like you don't have that tunnel vision on one thing. Like you can see past whatever you're doing, or you start to set that trap and you like, get me with one move, but you really want another.
Right. No, that makes sense. Yeah. That be able to like transition, like, because that is so much of it is like, it is that like, you're going down this path and then it's like, it's going to open 3 different paths. And then if you go a little bit down this one, well, then it's going to open even more this way and like different things. And so it's that like finding that, like sequencing a move, like he's saying that like next to next to next move.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And I think like your ability to almost like freestyle a little bit. It's like, I can transition this into something else at any point that I feel like it. I just like need to decide to do that or see an opportunity.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And for me to give you a purple belt, like my friend Eric, who runs a school in Dallas, he uses the term dilemma. So he like, now you're putting me in a dilemma where whatever choice I make is bad. So like it's chess, but I'm going to lose a piece no matter what.
That was one of the things Brandon that did the seminar this weekend. That's like one of the things he said is like, so much of it is like, not only am I like he's saying is like, not only am I forcing you into a decision, both of them are bad. Like, I don't want to give you, I might tease an exit. That's not an exit. Right. But I know that like your ability or like innate human nature is going to be to like jump on this exit. Well, that exit might be actually where I'm wanting you to go. Right. But it's that is like, I'm going to give you options. Do whatever you want. I don't care. But both of them are bad.
Yeah, that makes sense.
When are you going to do jiu-jitsu? Have we convinced you? Has this talk been like got you all jazzed up to
I think
do some Jamba Juice?
I think when I said if I stand up off the couch too fast, I'm crippled.
Maybe the broken leg.
I have it's called like trigger finger. Like this finger locks.
Oh yeah.
So I'm either going to get a steroid shot or tendons.
Let me see it.
Yeah. No.
I feel like
I got my wonky knuckle.
Now I'm convinced. I don't have any of these things. I feel like we've got a buddy of ours that his daughter's enrolled in jiu-jitsu, and I don't think he goes with her, but because we're getting Riley involved, who is about a year and a half old. We've done like some swim classes. We're getting her signed up for some gymnastics, just things to like learn how, to help her progress just generally. Jiu-jitsu I think would be really cool. And I think Alyssa would be up for that as well. But if Riley did it, I think I would want to do it as well. I think that would be the moment that I would want to.
Well, and that's something I haven't done one in a while. Actually, I am doing one this Friday. A lot of places don't do them, but we do like a parents and kids class. So where you get to train together. So that's like if you want to choke your kids and they can't call anyone. So
when we can walk literally just 2 doors down. It's Riley's here with us every day.
There you go.
We're not going to have to ever leave this shopping center because she already does childcare over there. I grabbed a quick workout over there earlier today. We're going to go do jujitsu in the evenings with you guys. Yeah.
You get your sriracha from the Asian market.
Sriracha from the Asian market.
Yeah.
If you need anything built, you just go.
That's right.
Construction
Place next door.
Yeah.
I mean, what more could you ask for?
Food, build things.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, I think that's a super cool thing. That is one of my goals. Is like I don't just judging like timeline wise. I don't. It's definitely not going to happen. But is like to be as close to my black belt as possible before I have kids, which not going to happen, but I will like be.
When do you want to have kids by?
Soon. Yeah, it definitely won't be. But I do think that'll be like, that's a cool thing of like, as my kids get older and older, it's something that I already do, you know, and it's something I already appreciate, and having them be involved in it, I think would be super, super cool.
Yeah. Well, and it is all about how you train. Like my dad still is training. Like we have a guy he's probably not gonna like me outing him. He's 61, but he has a pacemaker, but he's also jacked. Yeah. So like
there you go.
Yeah. Helps.
So, but yeah, we have all kinds of people in there that train. So.
Well, and I think that's the beauty of jiu-jitsu, right? Is, like you said, like size and strength is definitely a benefit, and it definitely helps, and it can be a thing that just like anything, flexibility or speed or any of those. But it is jiu-jitsu is something that like all sizes, you can be very good at jiu-jitsu. You don't have to be a like physically imposing person in order to be good at jiu-jitsu. I don't mean you, because you're not good at jiu-jitsu, but
or physically imposing. Neither category.
But no, I think that is like one of the coolest things is like, again, you can be everybody from like Ha, who we were talking about earlier, who's like, you know, not like doesn't want to be an intimidating person, right? Like it's not her attitude or like her mindset at all the way to people who are like big, athletic, like whatever. Like I think everywhere in between, like there is like plenty of room for jiu-jitsu and to get better, because there is so many ways to play the game. There is a million ways to do it, and I think that's like one of the coolest parts is that it can make sense for everybody. You know what I mean? Like you could do jiu-jitsu, Alyssa could do jiu-jitsu, like everybody could, you know.
Jason, I've got a question, and I hope it's okay that I ask this. You can definitely, this comes from a jiu-jitsu layman, so, and you could obviously kick my ass, so please don't kick my ass for asking this, but
I'm glad he knows
I
that.
wouldn't.
Have you had to learn differently at all in jiu-jitsu with your arm?
Jesus, Kevin.
Yeah. And even sometimes, like, there are lots of moves that I've had to like figure out another way to do them, or there are some moves that I just can't do. But there are also other moves that I can do that other people can't do because I've figured out a way, or like, I've never seen that. Yeah. They've never seen that, or, but yeah, I definitely have had to learn, but I think, I'm going to get a little sappy. Jasmine tells me it the best. Like, I wouldn't take like replacing my arm, because like I probably would be an asshole if I had two good arms and was good at jiu-jitsu. Like it does keep me very humble. And so like figuring out another way, and also like I've had kids come in that have similar injuries or do other things like that. Or like I had a kid that had a leg that had a similar problem, but I'm like, we can all find a way. Also, we have one guy who has no leg, so I'll just be quiet. Like he lost a leg and he is an animal. Like I'm like literally
he just walked by.
Yeah, I'm like literally God took your leg because it's not fair. Like he like if he had two, like we would all be in giant trouble. Yeah, but he's the world's nicest guy.
You're right.
But I think it's good to like that. That's just my thing. And but yeah, no, like I will punch choke you with my little hand.
Yeah,
like I will like find a way to like slide it in your neck and choke you. Yeah, it is cool. Like it's. Like there have been moments in time where I'm sure I'm frustrated, like because I can't do a certain move or something or whatever. But like it's just part of it. And I think I'm different in the sense like I have always had this injury versus somebody who has like something catastrophic happen to them. Like I've never known anything different. Literally, instead of crawling as a baby, I scooted. So like I've been a butt scooter my whole life, which is a term we use in jiu-jitsu because people try to pull guard. But no, like I've definitely had to find ways, and like that's part of the reason I wanted to be under Jean-Jacques is he became notorious like for doing no-gi and doing no-gi in a way that like he used a lot of underhooks and overhooks and didn't grab a lot with his hands. So that's why I kind of started to mimic him.
No. Well, interesting. I feel like there is some like cool things that come in like kind of a somewhat similar thing is like, even in my time or lots of people that I know, will learn some really cool aspect of jiu-jitsu because of like an injury or shortcoming or something that will happen that will force them. One of my other coaches, Randy, because this is like very traditional jiu-jitsu, it's like he broke his arm and was like, yeah, but I'm not gonna not train. You know what I mean? Like he's not gonna stop. So he was like, that was like, in a weird way, he was like, I got so good at like foot pummeling and like being able to use my feet in a different way because it was like, I kind of got forced into it a little bit. Or even Brandon, who I did a seminar with this weekend, he had like a really interesting way of doing guillotines and specifically like one-arm guillotines. And he does this like really weird thing with his hand that I've like never necessarily seen before. And he was like, oh yeah, I broke my wrist and I couldn't do the traditional like way that you do a move. And I was like, I actually found a better way to do it that I don't need to have that same kind of thing. And so obviously it's a little bit different than in Chase's situation, but it's like, it's the same kind of like basic idea of like, man, like that does kind of like force you to do things in different ways that can like open up new opportunities and possibilities as well.
Yeah. No, when people are injured, I'm like, you like don't stop training. And like there are certain injuries you have to. I'm not telling you to roll, but you can still go out there and do technique and try to figure things out, especially like if you're in a situation where you're like, I don't want to train because I'm scared that somebody's going to hurt me, you're training at the wrong place or training with the wrong partners. Like if you are so injured and then you're worried about going back out there and somebody just ripping your arm off or your shoulder off, you're in the wrong place.
Right.
So, but I do agree. Like if you have some sort of injury, you kind of find a way to work around it.
Right.
Or you're going to be way behind. You're going to take 3-4 months off and people that were worse than you are going to be better than you. And then you will quit. And that's why I tell people, I'm like, you will quit then because those people passed you and you took all that time off. So,
right. Yeah. It is a very interesting thing though.
I think the strategy and the limitless possibilities is the thing that gets me interested.
Dude. And the thing that I will say is, I do actually compare jiu-jitsu to golf a lot because it is very much this course can whoop my ass all day. But when I hit that wedge shot that backspins into 2 feet, oh baby, I want to come back. And it's the same kind of like, oh, I striped it down the middle on 18. Like, it is like the same thing happens a lot, especially at the beginning of jiu-jitsu where you're just like, get my ass kicked, get my ass kicked, get my ass kicked. Holy shit, that worked. Whoa, that worked. That move worked. And that happened exactly how I wanted it to happen. And it is a very similar feeling to like a crisp golf shot where you're just like, oh, it all came together.
The rest of the day, you can only think about that one thing that went right.
Yeah, you will be like...
You forget everything else that went wrong.
Right, for sure.
That's one of my favorite things when people who have been training like 6 months to a year hit something on me that they like didn't expect to. And then there's like it's like they messed up their OODA loop. Like they stopped because it worked. And then I get out of whatever and do whatever. And they're like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, that's part of it. But yeah, there's always like that lull in time when they sweep me or whatever. And they're like, it worked.
that is one of my favorite things. The like, the super excited look where you're just like, well, now I have to sweep you back because I was going to let you have it, but not anymore.
No, and I think that's what like people that have been training with long enough, like, cause I will give people things or like goad them into doing things to me. And like, you can tell the difference when you really got me by how I react. I'm like, oh, I gotta like bounce back up from that and get back up.
Right. That's one of the things that Bill coaches a lot and specifically coaches a lot for me to do that I really respect is he's like, if somebody's doing something right, don't just close that hole every time. Like if somebody is doing everything that they're supposed to do, but you know, because of an advantage or whether that's knowledge or strength or whatever, you know that you can like bust out of it or you can undo it. It's like, don't discourage people who are doing it the right way. Like if they've got you, like like let them at times, you know what I mean? And he's like, and then if they celebrate, rip their head off the next time.
That is what I tell people. I'm like, you will catch me. Like, and sometimes you'll really catch me and sometimes I'll let you catch me. How you react after you catch me determines how the rest of our training goes.
That's always my joke is like, when I'm training with somebody, especially if I've trained with them for a while, because I always just, as like a larger person, 99.9% of my rounds, I start down. down.
Yeah.
Just to let them start up. And I also like playing off of my back. Like I don't mind being like
so many jokes.
Pause. I don't like, I love bottom side, you know, like half guard, like all those kind of positions are some of my favorites. And so I play a lot of bottom because clip
that.
But that's always the joke is the first time somebody taps me that I've been training for a while, I'm like, oh sick, we get to start standing now. And then we'll start, and they'll be like, whoa. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's what happens. You tap me for the first time. We get to start standing now.
You know, I say that like how people react, but I think now even I've grown out of that because that natural reaction people have, like, I'm like, just let them celebrate.
Yeah,
like, just
let them have it.
As long as you're not like tweeting about like just subbed this black belt.
There was one time that I did let somebody, like we were working heel hooks and I was like kind of showing them some stuff on the heel hooks and he was like somebody was filming our match, right? Like we were just in class, but, and so we're kind of working and I'm like, okay, like we're kind of working heel hooks and like we're going and we're kind of like a 50-50 position. And I kind of like, I put my foot up into like his armpit kind of area and he just like turns, grips, rips, and like doesn't have knee control luckily, but like pops the shit out of my ankle and then posted it on Instagram. And I'm like, I'm gonna kill you. Like I will kill you.
You know, this is probably an unpopular opinion, but it's just weird because I grew up in a striking culture where like you don't post sparring footage, but in jiu-jitsu that's super normal. You can like film every roll and post it. And you can be like, look, I just subbed so-and-so, but it's totally fine. But like if you post a video of you striking and you slept somebody, like that's super frowned upon. Right. It's just really weird to me. I don't know. It's just like, it's just totally different. But in jiu-jitsu, everyone's like,
here's the clip of the one thing
where I ripped this guy's leg off.
When he let me. I'm like, okay, cool. Not letting you do that anymore.
You got to tell me what Instagram it is so I can go like it.
Dude, we're 2 hours in. It's 8 o'clock. Isn't it crazy how fast it goes by?
Yeah.
No. Well, dude, first and foremost, thanks for coming on. I have, especially since us opening Yukon and you guys moving over here, dude, it's been such a treat just to kind of like see you more often, get to know you more, being able to come over to your gym and train and to be a little sappy here for you. Like, dude, you're a great guy. You run an awesome gym. I've literally never met anybody that like has a genuinely bad thing to say about you, maybe jokingly, but
that's all right.
Yeah, but
that's in jiu-jitsu, like it's hard because everybody has like, there are for sure people out there that have bad things to say about me, but it's weird because it'll always be people I've never even like interacted with. Right. Like I don't even know you.
Right. But genuinely, dude, like I think like you run a really good gym. You also have like, I think you have such a good attitude towards just kind of like everything in life, man. I feel like no matter what's going on, like even when I know you've gone through some hard stuff and or life's good, like you still always come in, you're always like willing to like put a smile on, make me laugh, make other people laugh in your life. And dude, I just think that that's like one of the most underrated like qualities in people is their ability to, just like no matter what's going on, like still just be a really great guy. And so it's been really awesome for me to just like get closer with you and be better friends with you since you guys have opened up over here and appreciate the hospitality of always letting me come over and train and stuff. And dude, just super stoked that you guys are right here. It makes a really cool environment for everybody from your gym. They're so awesome. A lot of them come and shop with us and I see a lot of them after class or before class. And dude, you got a really good thing going over there. And I wholeheartedly believe it's because of the attitude that you bring to that gym on a daily basis.
Well, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate all the things you said. And I'm glad that we've gotten closer together because we are similar. Like the closer we get to somebody, the meaner we are. And so we've bonded in that way.
I literally warned him before we started. Like we're kind of mean to each other.
I tried to keep it low key since we were doing this, but just me and him just sending the meanest Instagram reels we can find to each other. But no, I really appreciate it. And I'm just trying to build a culture like I talked about. Like I don't want to have to be there for that culture to exist. Like it's just something that I want to happen whether I'm there or not. But it's been a journey. And so like if anybody is thinking about doing jujitsu, like I like highly recommend it. It doesn't have to be with me. Like we talked about, there's literally like 6 schools in a 4-mile radius. So give it a try. Go all those places. Give them all a try.
And in this area, I will say again, like there is really good jujitsu in this area. Like it is like I tell people too, because I know everybody. You know, I haven't met the Kingdom guys yet, but it's like I know everybody, and I'm like I feel close to everybody. So I'm like, man, just try them out. Like you're gonna find the right fit. Like there will be one that is obvious for you.
Is that a blessing and a curse to know everyone?
Always.
Oh.
Yeah. It's good though. You know what I mean? Like I think it's like we always, because this happens a lot even just in like gyms in general, is like everybody in the fitness industry, a lot of people have a past with each other, you know, and that's like a pretty common thing. And so that was one thing for us, is it's like we always like being able to kind of just be, you know, like we're Switzerland, you know what I mean? Like we don't play favorites. Like we love everybody. If you like, this is how I feel about it, is it's like, if you run a good gym, whether it's jiu-jitsu or whatever, if you run a good gym and you're good to your people, I will recommend you. Like I appreciate who you are. Like when I see the Yukon happenings post and people are like, I want to try jiu-jitsu. I'm like, I'm going to stay out of this. Right.
Well, okay. I have to go on a super short tirade. It's so funny that people will post in Yukon happenings where they want to train or any advice. Cause we grew up like, don't talk to strangers, but you'll take total advice from strangers you've never met about a business to go to. And I think that's so funny. But we were talking about like, yeah, there's going to be people in jujitsu that we just personality clash. We don't get along, but I would never, like, you would never hear me say something bad about them. One, if I don't like them, I'm not going to give them that power. Like, I'm not going to be like, say these negative things, but also like, what good is that going to do them or me? Like, I'm not going to put that out there. So.
Yeah, no. And I think that that's something that like I really appreciate about, especially everybody that has, this is a thing that I think makes it easy for us though. I will say, when you say it's like a blessing and a curse, it is more of a blessing because it is something where like, I feel like that is the attitude that most people have, at least that I associate, especially with like in this area, where it's like, it's not like if I never have to stress about like, oh, I'm going to go to this gym and they're going to be just like ragging on this other gym. It's just like,
that's bizarre.
It is. It's like that always weirds me out. And maybe that's just like a personal thing. Like I hate ads that like talk crap on a product in their same category. It makes me want to do their product, the competitor's product more. Which like you always bring it up, but it's like the Apple makes commercials and marketing about Apple, and like everybody else makes marketing about trying to say that they're better than Apple. And it's just like, just be you, dude. Like if you have something good to offer, you're going to do fine.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's been like a super cool thing. I will say it's much more of a blessing where like everybody has their past, but I think people kind of understand that like we don't play favorites. We want to be friends with everybody.
Well, if I can't be your favorite, I'm leaving.
Get out, man.
Don't even put the episode up.
Thanks for listening to us talk about jiu-jitsu a bunch.
No, I appreciate you guys letting me ask a few questions in there, learn a little bit. So, Chase, it was nice to get to know you a little bit more, man. It's I think we've spent a lot of hours, a lot of days in the same building with just a few walls in between us. So, man, it was really nice to get to know you a little bit more. I appreciate you coming over while you guys were doing class. Yeah, because I know that stress. I know that anxiety, man. So, do appreciate you spending a little bit of time with us, man.
I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. I had a great time, but my phone's on do not disturb. So I got to know if something happened or if the building is like still there.
Yeah, well, I think so. I saw cars drive away and everything. There was only one ambulance.
Nobody was like speeding away. Okay, cool.
There was one ambulance, but I don't think it was too bad.
All right, cool.
What episode did you say this was?
I think 72.
72. Again, kind of like Chase was saying, Yukon Martial Arts. It is right behind our Triad in Yukon. It is in the parking lot, literally behind, right next to our warehouse. So if you are interested in jiu-jitsu, you want to try jiu-jitsu, you've got a kid you want to put in jiu-jitsu or maybe try it out. It is a wonderful and awesome place to check out. Very safe environment, very friendly environment. Something that I know people can worry about sometimes when it comes to jiu-jitsu. I would never be concerned or worried about going somewhere like that. The Yukon Martial Arts is a great place with great people, and couldn't recommend you enough. So again, episode 72.
Yeah.
I like your shirt, by the way.
I'm curious if people notice.
Anything else you want to add? Anything else you want to plug or?
No, if you want to find us, we're at yukonokmartialarts.com or at Yukon Martial Arts on Instagram and Yukon Martial Arts on Facebook. And you can Facebook message us. I'm probably putting myself out there. You can text that phone number that's on Google and on our website. So you can reach me pretty much any hour of the night if you have questions. And I know I'm of the generation where people don't want to call.
Yeah.
Like if you want to text, you can text that number. You can Facebook message us. But we always do a week free trial. Come try it. Come try all the schools around.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Episode 72.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, guys.
Peace out.